This is day 5 of Advent of Code 2025, and this challenge is called Cafeteria. As the forklifts break through the wall, the elves are delighted to discover that there was a cafeteria on the other side after all. You can hear a commotion coming from the kitchen. At this rate, we won't have any time left to put the wreaths up in the dining hall. Resolute in your quest, you investigate. If only we hadn't switched to the new inventory management system right before Christmas, another elf exclaims. Ask what's going on. The elves in the kitchen explain the situation. Because of their complicated new inventory management system, they can't figure out which of the ingredients are fresh and which are spoiled. When you ask how it works, they give you a copy of the database, the puzzle input. The database operates on ingredient IDs. It consists of a list of fresh ingredient ID ranges, a blank line, and a list of available ingredient IDs. So for example, we've got this. So 3 to 5 is fresh, 10 to 14 fresh, and so on. So then 1 would be not fresh, 5 would be fresh, assume. So the fresh ID ranges are inclusive. The range 3 to 5 means that the ingredient IDs 3 for 5 are all fresh. The ranges can also overlap. An ingredient ID is fresh if it is in any range. So 1 is fresh, spoiled, 5 is fresh, spoiled, fresh, so on. So this example, 3 of the available ingredient IDs are fresh. How many of the available ingredient IDs are fresh? Okay, that sounds pretty straightforward. So we will get started on that. So I guess one thing that we need to actually sort out is the input, which is kind of the difficult part of this, which is kind of interesting. So let's create, maybe we'll do like a set for this. Oh no, hash set of ints for this. So we will start off with still while true. Actually, what do we, so we need to, I should grab this right here and put that in here. So we need to iterate over this. But then if the line is just an empty string, we then need to break. So we could do a for loop over it. And, well, actually, so we find out what the index of this blank line is. So we have that set in place. We for loop through it. If it's less than that index, we do the range handling. Then if it's greater than that, we're actually testing to see if it's fresh. So back to here. So int line separator. So we'll do int blank index. This can be equal to input dot find index. See what possible. Okay, I was hoping that, so we can put in like function into here. So string dot is null or white space. So if the line is null white space, then it'll grab that index and save it to blank index here. So now we'll just do simple for loop. So int I equals 0. I is less than input.count I plus plus. And first thing we do is if, actually we'll grab string line is equal to input I if line dot is, actually wait, string dot is null or white space, then line, we continue. And after that we, wait no, I don't need to do it like this, we just do based on the blank index. So everything inside of here is for the ranges, then we don't actually need to do this right here because it's gonna never get to that. So we'll do var parts is equal to line dot split on the dash, and we can do for int start is equal to int dot pass parts 0. Start is less than or equal to parts int dot pass parts 1 I plus plus. This is giving an error. Maybe I should int end is equal to this. Okay, I did square bracket, that's why it didn't work. Let's put that back here and change that to this. We do that, and then fresh IDs dot add start. Or maybe to simplify this for loop, we just do this. Int end is equal to this. Fresh ID is equal to start. Fresh ID is less than or equal to end. That looks better. So we add that in, and once we've out of this for loop, we've now got all of our fresh IDs saved. I'm just gonna start int total fresh IDs is equal to 0, and we will add that to this output here. So now we need to iterate through each of these rows. So for int I is equal to blank index plus 1. I is less than input.count, and then I plus plus. So we'll do, actually I've been using integers. I should probably check the real output to see what numbers being used. Okay, yeah. So we won't use integers. Let's change those to, we'll do longs. So long, 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 long. These can stay as ints because we don't have that many rows. But we can now do long id is equal to input I. Then we need to do long dot pass the row. And then we can do if fresh ids dot contains id total fresh plus plus. So I think that's all that we need to do. And let's run it and see if it works. Okay, well, it seems to be getting caught up somewhere, doing an infinite loop. So let's look at where we went wrong. This looks correct, and this looks correct, so it's probably this. ID equals start. Oh, okay, it did I here, which should mean fresh ID. So let's retry it. And we got 0. So maybe we should double check everything. So fresh ID, add. Oh, we're adding start to it. We should be adding fresh ID. So try it again, got 3, and that was correct. So we will copy our actual input and see if that works. So let's rerun it. So how many ranges are, okay, there's very, okay, so the amount of numbers there are, it doesn't make sense to do what we did, which was actually save every single number. Well, running this ended up crashing my computer, so I definitely need to change it. So instead of storing all the IDs, I need to actually just store the range. And I should have looked at this beforehand, because if I saw what these ranges actually were, then it's very obvious that there was going to be an issue by trying to store every single ID. So we will need to change that. And what we'll do instead is turn this to a list, and we will make it store a long start, long end, like so. We will go down to here, got start, got end, and we will add fresh, well actually we'll name this to fresh ID ranges, just so I can see all the places we need to change. Don't need this for loop anymore. And what we'll do is add the start and end into there. And what we'll do instead is iterate through the ranges. So for each bar range in fresh ID ranges, if ID is greater or equal to range.start or ID is less than or equal to range.end. This is where we'll add fresh ID count and remove that. And now I think that should work. We'll change it back to the test here, just so we can double check. Now we'll run it, and I think it was 3 that it should return. Okay, it gave 24, which is wrong. I forgot to break out here. So we add it and then break. So try again. 6, which is wrong. Okay, let's take a look at which IDs are being recorded. So there definitely should be 1. So if ID, oh, okay. Should be an and, make this less than equal. There we go. Now we're getting 3. So if we swap back to our real input and we run it, 6, 6, 4. So if we save that, we got the correct answer. So now on to part 2. The elves start bringing their spoiled inventory to the trash chute at the back of the kitchen, so that they can start bugging you when they get new inventory. The elves would like to know how all of the IDs that the fresh ingredient ID range is considered to be fresh. Ingredient ID is still considered fresh if it is in any range. Now the second section of the database, available ingredient IDs, is irrelevant. Here are the fresh ID ingredient ranges from the above example. All of this. Ingredient IDs that these ranges considered to be fresh are these. In this example, the fresh ingredient ID ranges consider a total of 14 ingredient IDs to be fresh. Process the database file again. How many ingredient IDs are considered to be fresh? Okay, so in a range, you need to know the count of all numbers, but because it's overlap, it have somewhere like within the same range. I want to make sure they don't get overlapped. Okay, so we'll switch back to the original one. And let's copy and paste this into here. But now we need to figure out just this. So let's only keep that's necessary. So we've got fresh ID ranges. Get rid of this. And we've now got our ranges. We won't be able to do what I originally did, which was actually just save all IDs. So there were a lot of numbers there and would take up a lot of memory. So what we do, we have our ranges. Then we should maybe look at combining ranges. So let's say you had a range that goes from here to here, a range which goes from here to here. We're having this range from this range, and then just have this range. And then we can go through, figure out the numbers within that. That's what makes sense to me. Yeah. Okay. So I've got fresh ID ranges. Let's create a brand new one. Merged ranges. Oh, actually, I was just thinking, like, it would take quite a while to, like, you'd have to go through all ranges. You know, go to the next one, you got to go through all ranges and check like that. But if you have your initial ranges and you sort based on the starting index, it'll make it easier. So you can see if, so you have your initial range, and you go to the next one, you can just check to see the start on this. If it's within this range, extend this one. If it's not, then you have this range. Just you know it's definitely not on this one. So you just have this range, and this is the one you're now comparing against. So the next one, okay, it is within. Extend it. Go to the next one. It's not. That's complete, and go to like that. Okay, that makes sense to me. So I've got fresh ID ranges, and we'll just sort it. So we do A, B, and we do A dot start dot compared to B dot start. So we're comparing the two numbers, and it's sorting based on that initial number. And we'll grab, actually we do that. Oh wait, I need to add them all in first, and then we merge. So we've done that, and we'll have a variable for current range, which will be fresh IDs 0. So we already know that, like, the first one's all good. It's about seeing if the following IDs are within that range and extending it. So we do this, we've got this now. And then for int I equals 1, so starting on the following range, I is less than fresh ID ranges dot count I plus plus. So we're now looking at the next ID, which is fresh ID ranges I. Now if next dot start is, let's see, if the starting ID is less than the current range dot end, that means it's contained within it. And so we now need to modify the current range dot end, and we want to see which of, if the next end is greater than the current end, we make that this, or if it's like a small, like, got your current and then your next, which is like small within it, kind of just ignore it. But so we just say math, get the max value, so equals math dot max next dot end current range dot end, and that sets the current. And if it's not the case that next is within current, that means there's no more that are going to be added to current. So we'll do an else, and this is merged ranges that we dot add current range, and then we make current range equal to the next, which is one we're looking at now. Do that, so that works. And then when, okay, once you're outside of this, so check through all of them. Current range is not added in yet, so we need to do, we need to add current range in. And now it's a matter of actually creating the total fresh IDs. So for each var range in merged ranges, we do total fresh IDs plus equals range dot end minus range dot start. Okay, I need to turn total, change this to a long, and I think that's what we need to do. Give original one, it's giving us 12. Okay, but the answer is 14. Okay, let's do a right line here. So we'll do range end, range start, and we will look at what this produces. So 5. Alright, okay, so it's not doing the inclusive one, so it should be 3, 4, 5. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, so we need to plus 1 to it. Get rid of this right line, run it. And we've got 14, which is what that had. We will now return back to our original input and run that. Oh, and we've got this large number. So we'll put that in submit, and that is the correct answer. So if you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe.